Hello, welcome to the Critical Obsession podcast. My name is Mirella,
And I'm Zoe.
and today we're going to talk about episode 4 of Not Me.
It is finally not me day. And I'm just like, I've been tortured so much lately. There's so much not me on the time. It sounds funny to say that, but there's so much not me, like around the place on the timeline and things like that on Twitter. And I'm just, don't get me wrong, I'm loving it every time I see it, but I'm just like, makes me so desperate to like watch forward or like just like long for more not me.
I'm so happy people keep talking about it.
No, me too. I'm excited. Like it's one of those things. It's like I feel like we had a similar for all I know I had a similar frustration with not at all on the same scale, don't get me wrong, but like I had a similar felt a similar frustration when we were doing the podcast for Dangerous Romance because that was very underrated. It was a very good drama and it just didn't get the love it
Mm-hmm,
deserved. And
mm-hmm,
when we were doing the podcast for Dangerous Romance, I was having like not me flash like like trauma flashbacks because that was very much the case with not me. Like we like fans, we love it, but like it just did not get the support that it deserved, unfortunately. So whenever people talk about it, whenever I see someone new who's discovered it, I'm always like, I always smile. Like I saw a post the other day, and at first I thought it was, like how sometimes we do funny things where we're like, oh, like I think you and I did it with the podcast. We were like, oh, there's this new show, have you heard about it? Not me. And
yeah.
I I saw this post the other day and it said something like, oh my god, I just discovered this new show. I just discovered this show for the first time and it's amazing. And I thought it was just like a Bobby being funny,
Mm-hmm,
you know. And then I
mm-hmm,
realized that they had only just like recently opened their account, and like um it was a very generic account, and it wasn't like a like a Bobby account or OffGun account or even a Not Me account. And it was just like this person legitimately just found Not Me and was like so excited about it. And I was just like, well, we have a podcast. But yeah,
I'm
no,
so
it was.
envious of the people who can watch it for the first time.
I
I
know.
remember I remember being like, can someone hit me in the head so I get amnesia or something so I can watch it again
I know,
and not
right?
remember.
And not only that, like there's such a great, like, I mean, obviously Bobby's a great community anyway. Like if you're an Off-Gun fan, there's a great support system in the, online community and everything. But I feel like Not Me has its own little like bubble that's sort of somewhat inside that, but kind of leaks out into like mainstream as well. Like where there's like fans who aren't necessarily like um belong to Bobby necessarily, but they love it just as much, And so it's like there's a community, like you have somewhere to go, like, whereas I remember when I first started watching it, I wasn't on BL Twitter at all, and like it was kind of isolating because I just wanted to talk about it, I know you felt the same, like when you first got into it. It was like kind of a little bit daunting to approach people and things like that, but there's such a like nice, lovely, very active, community that if you would discover it now, like there's lots going on, lots of people are still talking about it. Like you could find your people. You know what I mean, like in a much easier way. So besides getting the opportunity to enjoy it like for the first time, there's also, I feel like it would be a good experience as well, because there's, it's like, it's not like when you find a show, um like I'm trying to think of something that I really enjoyed but discovered late. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but I know there's been stuff. And you just like, everyone else is already over it. Like you like when everyone else was talking about it, I was not interested, or I was like hiding under a rock somewhere. And then I find it and I'm like, wow, and everyone's like already moved on. The good thing about Not Me
Mhm.
is that we have not moved on. we, we will never move on from Not Me. So it's like I feel like it's a good place to be. If you just stumbled into Not Me, you're lucky. Um but yeah,
And
I
podcast to listen to.
Yeah, that's right. There's even a podcast. Yeah. So, a little bit of like self promotion there. But
Well,
yeah, and I
promotion
sorry.
to the people who already listen to the podcast.
I know, right? Yeah. Tell your friends. Tell your mom. Um.
We're
So
bad at
well,
promoting ourselves. We don't have energy to do that or time
I feel
for.
I feel super awkward as well. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
Like I always think about we should do more posts where we're like, hey, we do this, and like kind of like we're knocking on people's doors, but I just feel super awkward doing it. I'm just like, if people want to listen to us, they'll listen to us. And if they don't, then they'll run away or back away slowly, depending on how afraid they are. Um, but yeah, I feel like as well the fun thing about like doing Not Me in this way, because we we talked about it before, that like as we've been doing the podcast, we've realized that we're starting to watch things a little bit differently, and that's definitely happening. Like as I'm watching Not Me, like I loved it the first time, and I loved it the second time, and I loved it the 12th time. But like I'm definitely noticing things differently. Like I remember talking about in like for the podcast for episode 3, about how the scene in the car where like White is having his transition between his white persona and his black persona, how I like realized it was completely different to how I watched it when I was just watching it casually, and
Mhm.
just I had noticed he looked tired, but I hadn't really attributed it to the fact that he was like the idea of becoming himself, like his own self again, was like absolutely exhausting to him, which is like kind of a little devastating when you think about it. But it's cool too, because you can see this character development happening with him. You can see like his the way his world is opening up and turning into something different, and it's just it's so fascinating to watch.
I'm thankful that we're doing this podcast because we are able to experience this amazing series in a new way.
Yeah, I think so too. I feel like it's fun. I mean, and it's for those listening at home. Ha 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 ha. Marilla and I, we did actually watch this together. We did watch Not Me together. Like, it was one of
Yeah, we
the
did
like
once.
first things we did when we started becoming friends, is we
Mhm.
watched it together. And we gushed like like a couple of kids with like a heap of like presents in front of us or something. Like we had a great time, but this is different. It's fun, like, and we've definitely talked about Not Me a lot, like since we've become friends, like a lot. We've talked
A
about
lot,
Not Me
a lot.
a lot. But I feel like it's interesting because I feel like the conversations we're having now are different. They're new, they're fresh, and it's like
Mhm.
another layer of fun. Like for me anyway. And I know for
Yeah,
you. So so thanks for joining us while we like lose our mind over Not Me for like what the I don't know combined, I don't know, like 40-second time or something. I don't know. It feels like a lot, but it also never feels like quite enough. So there you go.
yeah,
The sign of a good show, I think, when you're
definitely.
excited to watch it, like, after watching it so many times, or talking about it so much, or you know what I mean. And I can't recommend it
Yeah.
enough. Like I'm like, hi, you're Sam, I'm Zoe. Hey, have you seen Not Me? It's like I that's how I introduce myself. That followed up by quickly by do you know BTS? No, but yeah, so but
If
no,
you
I
don't know
kind of
what
go.
to talk about, don't talk about the weather. Talk about not me.
That's right. There's, it's safe, fairly safe. I was gonna say it's not political, but like it kind of is a little bit if you're from Thailand. But if you're not from Thailand, then it's not, you're not gonna stumble into too many like, conversations you shouldn't be having. But nah, it's just it's one that I feel like even people who don't know what BL is, I would very comfortably recommend it to them. It's just such a good show.
Okay, so should we start watching it?
We should. It's funny. Every week when we do this, I'm like so eager to start watching, but then I'm also like a little sad because once we start, it'll be over soon. And then we'll have to wait. We'll have to wait until we can do episode 5. So, all right, but let's get started on episode 4.
Let's go.
It's so funny because when I went to go, like, I'm using someone's playlist to play the episodes, and when I went to the playlist, I got spoiled by the thumbnail. Wet Sean. But in the previously on, we got to watch the beautiful sucker punch scene again, which was nice. The start of this episode, wow. I yeah. I don't know really what to talk about first here, honestly. There's just so much worth mentioning. Um
It starts
I
with nightmares and tears.
Yeah.
I mean, is it even a good story if you don't have a tortured protagonist who has nightmares and cannot really sleep peacefully without his lover?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not interested if that's not in it. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I mean, it's just okay. Like a first off, rather. Um, Shout out to Off's acting in this scene. It's amazing. We always talk about, or I always talk about how Gun cries beautifully. And yeah, I feel like in this scene, Off was devastating. Like it's just, ugh. And the perv in me needs to mention his lovely collarbones, his lovely exposed collarbones. I love Sean's wardrobe in this show.
You were watching him cry and looking at his collarbone, Zoe.
I just said the perv in me was watching his collarbones. The rest of me was watching the crying and like and look,
How
I can
how many
multitask.
of you in you? How many other?
Yeah, look, I can multitask, right? Like I've got all sorts of notes here, like breaking down the scene. But I have to pay homage to how lovely his collarbones are, and they put him in these really lovely Gun as well. These really nice t-shirts in this show
Mhm,
where they've got the really big wide mouth, like, or not mouth, neck
mhm.
holes where it's just it's lovely. They both have nice collarbones, so it's yeah. Anyway, all right, moving on. And like I'm just like this scene, we have Sean, because of course in the last episode Sean had sprung White going through his bag, and so then he did the whole I'm gonna hold you and so I'll know if you wake up and whatever while I'm sleeping, which gives you the information that he's a fairly light sleeper. And he also says, he also in the previous episode gives the audience the information that he doesn't sleep well, because he says, if you wake me up, that's it, kind of thing, like it's hard for me to go back to sleep. And so he's clutching onto White, because like that's totally normal. And yeah, then the nightmares and the tears start, and it's just whimpering, and the whimpering wakes up White. It disturbs him enough for him to sort of realize that something is wrong.
And when Sean starts asking for help and he turns to White, he starts asking for help in his sleep. I was just thinking how this situation puts him in such a vulnerable position, and he obviously knows that this is something that's happening to him, right? He was not that
I,
surprised when White told him he clung to him in his sleep. So I suppose he knows. And so thinking back on the fact that he accepted this new black to sleep with him, knowing that something like this might happen, is very interesting. Like he was already, I guess, kind of ready to get this vulnerable with him. I mean, you can never get really be ready to be like this with someone, but I feel like if it was the real black, he
mm.
he wouldn't have let him
Well, I feel like, yeah, I
stay
feel
with
like
him.
this is an unconscious like acceptance that he's not even aware of yet, because you mentioned he's not surprised by it, but like White gives him this opening to, like, White is very considerate in this scene of Sean's
Mhm,
feelings, because clearly something traumatic has happened to him.
mhm,
The fact that he's crying out for help, as you said, he's incredibly vulnerable when they're in the bed at night, and yet White totally could have used that against him, and instead he makes up some bullshit about, oh, I thought you had a fever, you know,
Mm-hmm.
you must have been sick, you wouldn't like he gives Sean an out,
Yeah. Yeah.
like he gives him a, and I feel like Sean says he's not surprised when he mentions the dreams, but or like mentions his behavior or like the disturbance in the sleep. But when he says
Mm-hmm.
about how you wouldn't let me go, he's like, I really did that. So I feel like that is not something he's done before. We find out later on that
Mm-hmm.
he's occasionally shared a bed with someone else, like just for
Mm-hmm.
sleeping. And I get the impression that this is not something that he's done before with other people. So I
We
feel
cannot
like
know. I feel like you maybe might not know. Maybe he looks. Maybe he's. This is something that he, cannot control. He wants to hold someone
no,
in his
well,
sleep.
I feel like this is my take on it. Okay, so I
But
like
I just.
I
This is the romantic way to think about it. This is why,
no
like,
no no
let's
no no.
say
But I'm
we're going
just
to.
yeah yeah. But I'm just saying like hang on. Let me finish my thought. So what I'm saying to you though here is I feel like we get to see this glimpse of Sean's trauma, right? Like, and at this point in
Mhm.
time, we don't know what it is, but it's clear it's something quite significant, and it's like. I find this scene really, really interesting, and I need to find another synonym for interesting because I feel like I'm saying that word way too much. But it's so enlightening how comfortable I feel like he's becoming with White, and it's such a short time because I feel like it's an
Yeah.
unconscious comfort, and the reason why I feel like that is because of the way he seeks White out in this situation, and White is it's so funny because he definitely straight away gives him comfort without sort of too much resistance, right?
Hmm.
Now,
Yeah. He
someone
just lets
who
it
like
happen.
yeah, so if you're someone who so two things happened from White's perspective. I feel like he was probably quite shaken by seeing because I feel like he sees Sean a certain way as well. Like he's seeing Sean as this like tough guy, like
Hmm.
whatever. So this is that probably shook him a little bit as well. And clearly, as I said, he's very vulnerable, and White is very kind of like almost not respectful, but like aware of the fact that that could be uncomfortable if you were to bring it up directly or whatever. And as I said, he just kind of like lets it happen. But if
Hmm.
you're someone who knows that you suffer from nightmares, right? So like you're probably more diligent if you know you're going to be sharing a bed with somebody, and by that
Hmm.
I mean like I used to have some sleeping issues growing up, and so I was very conscious of the fact that if I had a friend over or something, I kind of like kind of rested on this weird edge of like being awake, like not being able to sleep, not being able to relax enough to sleep, and like dozing. So you never really get to that stage where you're in that deep enough sleep that you could let yourself go to be able to get into that dream state where you can't get out of it sort of thing. And I feel like if you're someone who is aware of the fact that you um are having these kind of nightmares, that you probably would be sort of somewhat conscious of that. You might be afraid of what it might reveal, or you might be afraid of like letting the other person see this weakness in you. And yet he sleeps quite peacefully next to White until his dreams start. So I feel like there's this unconscious I don't think he necessarily maybe is as comfortable with other people is what I'm getting at. And yeah, maybe it's me being trying to be romantic in it or whatever, but I feel like just as well as also from like conversations that we get. I mean, this is once again, we're not told this, so this is me reading into it. But like what we're not told and what we are told from different characters and that with him is that he holds his trauma very close to the vest. Like people do not know really the extent of his story, and he very much keeps it that way, like, and that's the way he likes it. So he is probably in a situation where he would be like, so for example, like say they all crashed at the garage after a mission or whatever. he's more inclined to take himself up to his room rather than sleep down with everyone else or something, because he's going to be on guard of the fact that, maybe he has nightmares. Like, I don't feel like this is the first time that he's ever had a nightmare. You know what I mean? Like, that's not the impression that I get from these scenes that we have where we see him have the nightmares. I feel like it's probably the first time he's done it when there's been someone else around.
Okay.
Hello? That's just my
Okay.
that's my interpretation of it.
I feel like we cannot know for sure.
No, well,
I
we
mean, yeah,
can't.
I feel like this is the romantic way of imagining that that's probably what's happening,
Mm.
because we want
Well,
them to
have a connection.
we want, yeah, like we want this to be only about him. On this, he's the only one who makes him be vulnerable. But that would also mean that maybe he's the only one who makes him have these nightmares, because I'm pretty sure like he sleeps with other people as well, right? He
Well,
sleeps at your place. He sleeps with Namo,
yeah, but we
but
never see any indication that he has dreams when he's with other people. That's what I'm getting at. So, like, I'm not saying that he doesn't, but we're not showing that he does either. And I don't think it's a
but why
matter
would
of.
it be shown? This is not the story of Sean and Namo. This is not the story of Sean and first. I mean, with
Yeah, but
Yok.
this
This is
is
the story
this.
of
Yeah,
White
but this.
and Sean.
Yeah, but no, I'm not saying that. But I don't think that this scene is just about, like, Sean and White anyway. I think this is the first glimpse that we, the viewer, get to see of his, like, trauma.
Hmm.
Like, we see more in future scenes like this, but this is the first, like, kind of hint of softness that we get as well. Um,
Yeah, we're
and I'm
discovering
not.
this one. We're discovering Sean through White's eyes.
Yeah. And as I said, I'm not necessarily saying that it's a romantic thing, because, like, it's so funny. You made me laugh when you said, like, White gives him the nightmares. Uh, but, like, the idea of being able to be that vulnerable where you're not constantly 100% on guard all the time is more what I was referring to, because I feel like Sean is
Yeah, but
very similar to.
I know. This is just like paraphrasing it.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, I feel like Sean is very similar to Black in that they're, like, so tightly wound and so restrained that, like, it's it would take a lot for them to reveal things that they don't mean to reveal, if that makes any sense. And and
Mhm.
and that doesn't necessarily mean that um it's a romantic thing. I feel like if this scene here had happened, like, after a traumatic thing, or, like, a really, like, maybe, like, like, if this scene had happened directly after the fire or something, especially when it doesn't make sense because obviously they wouldn't have been in the bed together, but let's just say they were, um after um White had said that he wanted to quit and everything. I could imagine something like this being triggered because there's that fear of, like, him not being able to, get his revenge or whatever. Like, that would bring things up. So I don't necessarily, like, I get what you're saying. I think it's just one of those things where it's what does Pinucci say? It's up to your interpretation.
I wonder, I don't remember what else is happening in this episode. Maybe something happens that steers his memory of his father. And maybe this is
Yeah.
why he had this dream.
Yeah, maybe. I think it's just the opening of the door for us as viewers to sort of
Well,
start
yeah,
to see. Yeah.
that's
But
true.
yeah.
Certainly so.
But yeah, I do think as I said, I do think it does give us some insight on how comfortable they are with each other, because
Hmm.
um
Yeah.
White himself, even, as I said, the way he offers comfort, like, he could have woken him up, even if he didn't, like, reveal the nightmare thing or whatever. He still could have, because the way how they have been with each other pretty much since, the beginning, and even, like, only a couple of hours earlier when Sean found him going through his bag, and that they're antagonistic to one another. So he could have, like, shoved him really hard and been like, get off me,
White
or you're making
isn't
too much
though.
noise. No, he's
White
not.
is
He's too
not.
kind.
He's like, actually he is only pretending because he thinks he has to. Well, he's trying. When he's soft, it's very confusing for him, as we talked before, because
Hmm.
Sean is hot and then cold and then hot and then cold. But White,
Mm,
by default, White is playful and White is a warm person. And
mm.
but here in this scene, he's like, take from me what you want, what you need.
But then at the
It's
same
so
time,
very
it
similar.
doesn't. It doesn't. Now we're getting into the romantic side though again. Though, so this is an argument for the romantic side of it, because
Mhm.
even though he's a good person and he's kind, if you're in this situation, this might make someone very uncomfortable being this close to another person, especially someone you don't
Mhm.
like or you don't know. So even if you're a nice person, you still might shove them away. As I said, he could still protect Sean's dignity by being like, oh, what were you doing? Or like, you were like,
You hit me in
whatever.
your sleep.
Yeah,
Whatever,
yeah.
yeah.
Like, you checked you, like, he could have done something to, or he could have just shoved him really hard and like pushed him out of the bed or something. I may have done that to
Mhm.
someone who wouldn't stop snoring once, but like, and then act innocent, like, there's a way. This person will never listen to this, so it's all good. At least I don't think so. If that's the case, if you ever do listen and you know who you are, I apologize. It was mean, but you were snoring really loudly. Um, but yeah, so if you know what I mean? Like, he still could have, like, he's clearly, even though he's a bit like the lady doth protest too much in his like, oh, that Sean, he's suspicious, let me watch him every like like
Mhm.
every day for the rest of my life in case he does something wrong. I may have to get married to him, just to make sure that he never does anything evil.
To
um
be able to study him closer.
that's right. Like, I'm going to have to infiltrate as his significant
Mhm.
other. um but yeah, so he feels sympathy towards him. And I mean, he is a sympathetic, empathetic person anyway. You are correct, that is very much true. But it's so funny to me is that, like, all this stuff has just happened and it's like only like the first minute or so.
The way when they wake up and their legs are intertwined and everything, and when White tried to retreat from under, from under Sean,
Yeah,
when he does that, I'm cringing, cringing so
yeah,
hard, because that must hurt so much if you're actually, relaxed,
yeah, yeah.
and someone takes like their leg from under your tide, from the inside of your tide, and they like, oh my god, that must hurt so much. And I always watch this scene, I'm like, yeah, no, they're actors, this is not real, it's okay, it's fine.
Well, yeah, it's so funny. Whenever I watch this scene, I'm the same. I have like weird thoughts like that where I'm just like, oh, it's, and then the way he grabs him as well. This scene um is just, it's so funny to me, but also it's like White struggling to get away from him in the daylight
Mhm.
is like, I don't know why. It's so, funny is the wrong word, but it's funny to me because in the daylight he freaks, but in the darkness he's totally comfortable. Like, it's like it's like it was this private moment between them in the dark, but in the
Mhm.
daylight
Mhm.
like the reality of the situation is like crept in, and now he's feeling awkward because it's like they're really close. It's a very
Mhm.
intimate position. When he even does manage to, like, extract himself, like, he's just pulled back even tighter.
He's being considerate and he's feeling very awkward, and I feel like he's feeling even more awkward than Sean, and Sean is
Yeah,
aware of what happened,
yeah,
but
I feel
the
like,
one who's more uncomfortable is White.
yeah, because I feel like the difference between them in this scene, like before the whole like tear gas episode, is that White has been awake for a few minutes, right? So he's had
Mhm.
a couple of minutes to wake up, see like Sean right there, remember everything, and don't forget his memory of what happened, like the intimacy of what happened between them in the night is different because Sean
Mhm.
doesn't have that knowledge, so or that memory. So like White is kind of like embarrassed on himself, like for himself, but also maybe for a little bit for Sean on Sean's behalf. And
Mhm.
it's just this intimacy that like they had, which in the daylight he can't like fit in his brain, you know what I mean? Whereas when Sean wakes up, he's like, I did what? He's like half asleep still, really. He's like, I did what? Like, and he's stumbling out of bed, and then you get the tear gas. Like, it all happens very quickly. He doesn't have the chance to
Mhm.
sort of wake up
Mhm.
and like it'd be different if we had that scene where you know Sean woke up first and White had been sleeping, especially considering it's like I love how Sean says to him, why are you, what does he say, why are you huddling up on me or something like that, and it's like, dude, your arm is over him, your thigh is thrown over his like you are the koala bear in this situation, not the other way around. Like it's very clear that you are the, the holder and not the holdee. But yeah, so I just find this kind of like, we have these moments of White leading up to like when they kind of, discover their feelings and everything, where he's
Mhm.
clearly having feelings that he doesn't know what to do with. And I feel like
Mhm.
part of this waking up and being this intimate is a bit of being embarrassed by the intimacy, but also just the fact that like that he doesn't know how to deal with what's going on just yet,
Mhm.
and he's a little bit alone in it because I just said like they definitely don't have the same experience when they wake up because Sean isn't really conscious of what's happening in terms of not between them, but like in this moment at least. And as I said, he doesn't have the same memory from the night. He doesn't remember being afraid and reaching for White. That's not a memory that he has. So
That's right.
mm.
And then they get attacked by the gas.
Yeah, by Goomba. And it's just like he's so serious in this moment, like is our Goomba, and the way he's like, the way you came out, you could have got shot, and I'm just like, wow, who are these people that they're like going up against, that they, that they're so bad that they may shoot you as you walk out your bedroom door in the morning. I'm just like, the first time I watched this I was like, who are these people? uh,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because he's doing it for White. This is an
mm,
initiation for White, basically. He's
yeah,
showing him what they up against,
yeah,
and he's preparing him for some
the
danger. He's letting him know how serious the situation is.
yeah, like worst case scenario.
Yes, because Sean obviously is also new to this. Did not expect something like this to happen, so it must be a first.
Mm-mm.
So this is all for White. This was done for White.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I was like, I was thinking about this scene, and I was like, from the perspective, if you look at it from the perspective of if someone did infiltrate the garage space, for example, and their goal was to hurt um Sean and White and like, or like access where they were or whatever, and this is their version of flushing them out, then Goodwin's not wrong in suggesting they should have attempted to put out the gas bomb thing or whatever rather than like flee. It's like
Hmm.
he wants them to use their brains in a different kind of way, and instead they just reacted, like they you know reacted instead of taking action. um
Yeah.
and the other thing that we see is that once again is that White is really smart. Like this is a
Hmm.
situation that is foreign to him, and yet he still thinks to grab the water bottle and like potentially something to cover their eyes. Um, and like he's thinking while this is happening, whereas Sean sort of like panics a bit. Um,
Hmm.
and so it's kind of
Or
interesting to
maybe
see.
maybe it's also because it was Sean's room. White was already in a foreign place, so he's already a bit more
On
aware
guard.
of the things around
Yeah.
him.
I
On
think
guard,
also
yeah.
Yeah, I think also it's a little bit like what I mentioned before as well. Sean is still a little bit asleep when this happens,
Mhm.
and White is
That
awake already.
also.
Like White, as
Mhm.
soon as White realizes that they're like all wrapped around each other, he's awake. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, like sometimes it takes you like a couple of minutes to get going in the morning, which is what is clearly happening to Sean here. Whereas like
Not
White's
really.
like, sorry.
When my alarm goes on, I stand up and I go.
Oh, do you? Oh my
Goes
god,
off.
I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, it depends. It depends. Sometimes my alarm goes off and I'm like, I don't think so. And I'll
No,
sit
it
up.
never.
I'll sit up in my bed and I'm just like I'll sit up with like my eyes closed for a bit while I try and work out how much do I really need to go to work and earn money. Is this something
No,
I really need to do? Yes, okay, I better get going. But I think
no,
he might be an
I don't even like open my eyes and like stand for like lay there for a second or anything. I just stand up and I go. So
I feel
it
like
also
I
depends
I feel like
on
you
people.
might be I feel like you might be an anomaly though. Like that doesn't sound like something that's normal to me. As someone who languishes in bed, that feels unnatural. But you could be right. But I do think it's definitely like I feel like he's definitely awake like straight away. Like Sean being wrapped around him is his alarm version of the alarm clock. And he tries to get up like you're saying, but like Sean just won't let him go. Um, Whereas maybe in this instance, Sean is me stumbling around like not really quite awake. But yeah, and so then we like Goomba gives them his lecture, and then we get it's so funny to me because there are little bits in this scene as well. Like so we have um as I said, White is really smart. He gets the water, a towel. Which when I first time I saw this, I was like, yes, yes, drench the towel in water and like wrap it around your face or whatever. But like that didn't get that far. But I feel like the thought process was happening. It's just they were too busy trying to get out. And he helps Sean out and everything. And then we have the scene where they get the lecture and that, and Goomba gives them water or saline or something to flush their eyes and that out. And White keeps going to rub them, and Sean is like, like tells him off and tells him to stop rubbing his eyes and everything. So there's all these little bits of like concern for each other, but it's all gruff and like kind of angry. You know what I mean? Um,
Mhm.
and then we get the scene with them out by the barrels of water, outside the garage,
Ooh,
and it's
you've
just
changed
like,
so much. You've never been that kind.
yeah, and it's like
And
this to this.
this is also in reference to the way they woke up and White
Mm-mm.
being very considerate with him. Now he could also add that thing to the list of weird things this new black guy does.
Yeah, because he probably would feel like Black would that is something that Black would use against him, and instead White gave him an out and tried to like downplay what had actually happened between them. Um,
Uh,
Yeah, Sean is so confused. You know what I mean? Like he's so confused by White because this is not the Black that he knows at all. Um, the Black that he knows would never have bothered to flush his eyes or help him up or help them out. Like he just would have left him behind without a thought.
or let
And the
him hug him while he sleeps.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, he definitely would have kicked his ass out of bed, like without any regret. He would have. I could just see Black like shoving Sean out of the bed and then just like rolling over and going back to sleep with like zero care. Um,
Yeah.
and so and so like this. Then when he's like questioning White about like as you said, why he's being this way because it doesn't make any sense to him. And of
Hmm.
course, White's like, seriously, this is not a thing that I thought would catch me out. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't have these memories
No,
that Sean is
he has
questioning him
that
about.
when Sean says, "Do you remember our first mission?" And so White suddenly thinks, "Oh, is this what's going to be the thing that reveals?" my
Mm,
true identity, because that he does not know their
yeah.
first mission, obviously.
No. And White, of course, is getting very good at bluffing and
Yeah,
realizing that if he uses anger and um
the black attitude
yeah, it will
of being
get him
kind
out of
of
a
rude.
lot. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of rude and aloof and like I don't care and blah blah. But you know,
Yeah.
I noticed he said our first mission, and it looks like this one with the Tawis house is not the second, right? They must have had something additionally
Yeah.
besides that.
I think they'd done other stuff, but this was like their first thing that they did as a group, I think, which was to what to
They
vandalize the
ousted the
university.
chancellor.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
and
vandalized
then
at the university. I feel like
yeah.
the mission with Tawi's forest house was probably their first like major serious like thing
Crime.
where they
Mm.
were like really breaking the law and like risking themselves
Mhm.
and stuff like that. Everything else was probably like
I
a lead up, like training for this sort of stuff.
I find it interesting how Sean says, "You never cared about me or helped me before." And it feels very personal because he does not say us, he says cool, me. I mean,
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
So, does Black has something against Sean
It's
personally? Like,
it's
he
really
does not
interesting.
like him in particular.
I have so many thoughts about this scene that we're revealed. So this time when Sean is talking about this first mission, we get to see Black for the first time, like
Hmm.
in his kind of like mode. But we're seeing Sean's Black, right? So
Hmm.
is he really this hard? Whatever. And I've thought about this scene actually a lot. I remember talking to my mom about this scene, and I feel like I need to address something because I was listening to when I was listening to I don't know, was that our last podcast or the one before for Not Me, and I think
Hmm.
I've been a bit hard on Black. Like I said a couple of times that like he's very much like the ends just to justify the means, and he is very
Hmm.
much that way. But he's not going to sacrifice just like anyone to achieve his goals. Like he at the heart of it, he wants things to be better and to and he's very aware of the fact that like if you if you hurt people to make things better or to achieve things, then that's you're not you're a villain also. Like we find out later that that is how he feels about things. So like he's very
Hmm.
similar to White in that way. It's just he seems like he's willing to sacrifice. And what I think it is that he's willing to sacrifice himself and he's willing to sacrifice Sean. And the reason why I think he's willing to sacrifice Sean is because the Sean that Black knows is all about the mission. And so he is already of his own design willing to sacrifice himself as long as he can make Tawi pay. Like his own safety and his own survival isn't that important to him. And so I feel like Black is aware of that. But I also feel like in this scene that we see, so basically they're um what's happening is they're graffitiing in the university, and once again we see Yoke and Graham together, and I feel like they're they don't have anything with them, just their masks over their face. I feel like once again they're probably doing like the the minimal of risked type endeavors, more lookout than anything, whereas you've got Sean and um Black are like
But
you know stringing up banners and throwing paint and all the rest of it. And so we get this they get warned by Gumper and not Gumper, by Graham, and I keep wanting to say Gumper whenever I want to say Graham. Too many G's. They get warned by Graham and Yoke that there's somebody coming or something, and so they take off. And so Sean and Black also take off, but Sean gets caught. And Black does it, and I feel like it's one of those things. This scene is really interesting. I feel like Sean, for as like much as he seems like he doesn't care and he's angry and hard or whatever, he's like a sensitive little flower. And by that I mean like in the most precious way. He
Mhm.
still is able to be hurt. You know what I mean? And so he's clearly was hurt by what Black does here. Like I
Mhm.
don't think he was expecting it. I feel like he sees it probably not in the way it was actually intended, because as I said, I've thought about this scene as a lot. We see
Me too.
Sean,
Me
we see
too.
Sean, yeah. Be interesting to see if you and
I
I
thought
have the
that.
same thoughts. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
we see Sean looking at Black, and Black looks back at him before
Mhm.
leaving him, and it looks like he's disregarded him. He
Mhm.
even says to, which Sean reveals to White, that he even says something to him like, um do you have the exact quote? Yeah,
It's not
and he
exactly
said,
what's
yeah, but he
said,
says,
but
and then he says something like, to accept the consequences or whatever, like you must
mhm.
accept the
Mhm.
consequences. And there's two things about that. One, you could see this as this is their, supposedly this is their first thing. Is this, I thought about it. My initial thought when I watched this show, and this is the thing I spoke to my mum about, is that I wondered if, from Black's perspective, if he was actually testing Sean to see how willing is he to accept the consequences of his actions, given that they're about to plan doing a bunch of really strong stuff, and considering it seems like him and Sean are the ones that put their necks on the chopping block, sort of thing, like to see like how not trustworthy, but like was he really, did he really understand like what they were doing, you know what I mean, like did he really understand the consequences of their actions? That's what I originally thought, like, and we know that Sean just thinks that he's been abandoned and that like Black is uncaring and doesn't give a shit. I actually, after some, like a lot of consideration, actually think it's that he knew he could trust Sean. By leaving Sean, he knew that Sean was not going to talk about what they did. He knew that Sean wasn't going to give anybody away. He knew that Sean could
Oh well,
weather it.
that's funny that you say that because he calls after him calling him by his name.
Yeah, but like that's nicknames or whatever. Like, I mean, how many, who knows how many Blacks there are? It's like it's whatever. And
Mm.
that also could be like, besides being like a nickname, it could be a false name. Like I don't feel like that's, I mean, like when they got him into, the reason why I think this is, I like, I don't think, if you put him in an interrogation, Sean is not going to give any information out. Like he's the person who's going to sit there and just keep his mouth shut.
Mhm.
Whereas like I don't know that you could necessarily say the same for Graham and Yoke. I don't know, like they're not, I don't feel like they're in the same, they're not as committed in the same way with the same goals and the same, I don't know. I just feel like, I feel like the look that Black gives Sean is more measured than anything. Like I feel like he is, when he leaves him there, it's not the hard, for the hard reason that Sean sees it as, if that makes any sense. And so now,
I went even further with this.
yeah.
I thought this was their first mission. Why do we assume that Black was so calculated and he knew everything and he was so confident and like he was so much in control of the situation? Maybe he acted tough. Maybe he actually got scared. Maybe it's something that he did and then he regretted,
Mm,
and then that made him tougher. And the only way to get through it, because just recognizing his mistake would not fit his character, and so he decided to act even tougher and become less vulnerable and just accept the consequences of what he did. So this is why after he saw how Sean reacted, he was like, okay, he will just have to deal with it. I'm not going to um,
mm.
get involved. And so he just acted cold, as if that's what he always intended. Maybe he did not intend. Maybe he considered going back after him, but maybe he thought that he would not win in that situation,
Mm.
and he left. But maybe he
Yeah.
regretted leaving.
I wonder if it's a combination of two, like of two parts of it, because I feel like what we find out, and like the stuff that we're shown of Black and the way he acts, definitely him becoming hard makes sense, you know, from like what you're saying makes
Mm-hmm.
total sense. But also I feel like he does stop and turn around when Sean calls out for him.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it's almost like he considers in that moment. And I feel
Yeah.
like the other thing is if he was to get caught too though, like if you look at it from the perspective of, and this is a horrible conversation, this is a horrible talking point, but I feel like it's relevant. The difference between Sean, who has no family, no like standing in the like community or like whatever, like he's someone who they'll punish and then like everyone will forget about it. If Black gets caught, he's from a, you know, prominent family, his mother's a, you know, like yes, he could probably get out of it, get out of trouble and all the rest of it like fairly easy, but it's also something that like people are going to probably remember more so. And like
Well,
there's a
here I
very,
disagree. I disagree with this because I feel like Black wouldn't really care about that.
I don't
Not
think
that
he would
he
either.
wouldn't care, but I don't feel like this would be something that he considers as like they can catch him because he has no one. They cannot catch me because other people will be affected.
Yeah, no, I don't mean like that, but I mean like if you're looking at from the standpoint of like I completely agree, because I'm not saying that I think this was like a thought process he was having here. I'm just saying like I can
Hmm.
see why this might be a consideration, and not because of how like other people would be affected, but more about how it might affect their goal.
Hmm.
Because if he's caught doing something, it's more, you know what I mean, it's more, it's bigger press, isn't it? Like no one cares if someone who has nothing or nobody does something wrong. Let's be honest.
Isn't that
Like
good though?
how do you mean?
Bigger press, more people talk about it.
But
Look, the sun or
not
whatever.
if it stops you from being able to like do what you actually want to achieve. Like if you're trying to just get awareness for something, then yeah, obviously and that's how White is going to look at it later on, is that like the more press, the more people talking about the issue, like that is the way to get power, versus doing like breaking the law and maybe getting into trouble and no one hears about it because it just gets covered up. Like, but like from the standpoint of if you're looking at it as someone like say Sean or White, where you have this mission, and if you get caught on one of the steps, like it's a problem if you are suddenly recognizable like in such a way. Yeah, I don't, it's probably not relevant to this, because as you said, it's not something he would have necessarily been thinking of in this moment. But I kind of feel like it's a bit of what you're saying and it's a bit of what I'm saying. I feel like maybe he let not let Sean get caught, but like he knew that Sean could deal with it and like whatever. And I also feel like maybe it might have been something that there may have been a conversation that would have happened at a later date, as you said, but because of the way Sean reacted to the whole thing, Black just accepted that as the fact that this was their relationship now, and it was easier just to keep the distance and
I'm
be
thinking
hard.
maybe in that moment he reminded Sean reminded him of his brother a little bit
Yeah, I thought that
because
as
Sean
well.
relied on
Yeah.
him,
Mm-mm-mm.
but
And I think,
he cannot handle having someone like that, having such a vulnerability in this situation. This is what
mm-mm,
he told White as well. You know, I cannot defend you
mm-mm.
if we're like if you get involved in this. And I feel like in that moment he got flashbacks when Sean called out to him.
Well, maybe it's
If you
a matter
remember
as
right.
well, because yeah, because suddenly there's a consequence. So like maybe it's like a bit of like what you were saying, a bit of what I was saying, where it's like suddenly there's this the consequences are real because this person is now caught, and it's like, as you said, if he's reminded of his brother here, and then when we find later on, we have the stuff where he really doesn't want him involved because he's afraid of like what happens if he can't stop it. You know, like he can't go back and fix things once they're already in, you know, in place, in like it's already going, it's already happening. And it's
That, but
interesting.
also having someone you love, like
Mm,
being involved in something like this with someone you love, I feel like Black would view this as a vulnerability, as
Oh, of course,
something
because
someone can use against him. This
yeah,
is,
exactly. Mm-mm.
yeah. And
Um,
it's gonna be funny if this is why he then decided to be extra cold with Sean and never
yeah.
care about Sean and never help Sean,
Well, it's funny too.
especially.
Yeah, it's funny too because like if you I like I've always, to me it's very obvious as well that like the reason why, or one of the main reasons why he doesn't want White with Sean is because Sean is very like fatalistic in his mindset when Black knows him. Like he has no
Hmm.
self-preservation. He just wants, he doesn't care about, at least that's the version he knows of him. And so he that's not someone you want for someone you love. But also, as you said,
Yeah.
if he's with Sean and Sean is not going to back down from this, then if Sean's in, then so's White, and that's, he wants to avoid that. But it could also be like what you're saying, like this in the instance, like in the beginning, he liked Sean as much as he can in his Black way. Um and but at the same time, like that makes him vulnerable, but also I feel
Yeah,
like the things that he doesn't like about Sean are the things that are very similar to himself.
to
So
himself, exactly.
while he
Yes.
might see
Yeah, I
aspects of
agree.
White in him.
This is so good. Yes, the things that he likes about Sean are the
White.
things that are similar to White. Yeah, the things that he doesn't like about Sean are the things that remind him of himself. But also, I wanted to say that he not accepting Sean as or pushing him away as if he viewed him if he decided that getting close to people, to Sean, whatever, would be a vulnerability. Also ties it to his tattoo and
How so?
how it's made of four stripes, which are meant to represent something probably important to him that he covers because
Mm,
with stripes because he needs to hide it or to protect it because of whatever reasons.
mm, mm. Yeah. And it's too, the other thing I was going to say is this idea later on when Black does soften towards Sean, he puts it all on about how it's because of White feels that way, but I feel like it's
Mhm.
a little bit because now, like later on, we're going to get to see a Sean that is different because this Sean doesn't want to die. This Sean is, he's different, and like there's more of White in him, I think, in
Mhm.
that time. Like from Black's perspective, like he will see more of the things that he loves.
And then he says, "You were an asshole," you know. So he's
Yes, he
already
did.
using the verb in the past tense. He already kind of accepted that this new Black is not an asshole, I guess.
Mm-mm-mm.
And he calls him out, and White is trying to act as though, "Oh, Goomba made me do it. Goomba made me do it." Although, did
Go
you
about
see
maybe do it.
when Sean was telling him the story of their first mission, White's eyes were red, while Sean's were not already, so he was holding back tears. He did not
Mm,
like hearing that story, obviously.
mm.
And then he says, "I was helping you because Gumpa was testing us. I didn't want him to yell at me. Yeah, that was a good way to get out of the situation. Actually, that was a good response, a Black-like response, I think, because he didn't want to hear him yell, not because he actually cared, but he just didn't want to get annoyed. I feel like that would fit Black very
Mm-mm-mm.
well.
Do you know what's interesting to me is, like, well, not interesting, but like I love the way in the beginning of this scene, before we get to that part, before like Sean even really sort of starts to kind of like dig into the "you were an asshole" stuff, the way he's watching White,
Hmm.
like he's so like considering of him, you know what I mean? Like he's just like he's so he's like he's got to that point where he's like, I just don't get it. Like I'm gonna have to talk
Hmm.
about it out loud because none of this is adding up to me. I can't, he's like, I can't math because because 1 plus 1 does not equal 2, like in this situation. And
Hmm.
when, we, as you said, we get the scene where they're like arguing about it, And I'm sorry, but like I have to be that person. The bit where he like shoves him up against the car, like these scenes are so charged with like I don't know. It's just it should not feel the way it does, but it's because there's this like pause between them, like just after
Mhm.
they get close, and it's like they have to feel it, but like I don't know. And then you as
Mhm.
you said, White is just like, oh, I did not want to hear him yell. Um
But
and the
but
way
but Sean is still suspicious. Not
yeah.
suspicious. He is skeptical about White's response. But
Mm-mm.
when then White hits harder with, "If that was real, I would just let you die. Don't hold me back this time." And this is actually really a Black response. I think this is something that Black might have said to him actually before.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have this feeling that this is really like White is playing Black, like as there's like he has reached, uh, the
His
blackest
peak. Yeah, his
level.
peak blackness, yeah. Yeah, it's funny because I feel like, yeah, when he gives these harsh words, I feel like he was very fast in picking up on how Black would respond in this sort of
Hmm.
situation, and I feel like the other reason why, and he when he says it, it feels real. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
because it's like
and
he's
Sean looks hurt.
angry. Yeah, well, he's angry and he's frustrated because
Yeah.
he doesn't like the feelings he's having. That's the first thing. And I also think he's probably pissed a bit at his brother because he left someone
Hmm.
behind, because he would never do that. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's a lot of it. And then
Hmm.
when he gives Sean these harsh words about it, like what would happen in the real, situation and everything, it also doesn't fit though with the new person that he's starting to know, that Sean is starting to know. Like the person
Yes.
that let him hold him all night, the person
Hmm.
who um helped him out of the room, the person who, like, these glimpses he keeps seeing of him, and the hard words, they don't match up, they don't marry anymore. And so, like, yeah, he's hurt, but he's also still like even more confused, because like this from like the new Black, let's call him, from Sean's perspective, is so far like over the line, even though it's like normal, like it would be not the
Hmm.
normal response, but like it's so far beyond like what he's been getting lately that it's just, you know, he um he is like um both hurt but also still like, you know, puzzled and intrigued. Like he has this look on his face as White walks away, where it's like this, you know from the look on Sean's face that this isn't the end of it. You know what I mean? Like he's not like let it go sort of thing, kind of. And it occurred
I
to
saw
me
it
as well.
differently, actually.
Do you?
Yeah, I
Did you
saw
just
it
think he seemed
differently.
to? You just thought he looked hurt?
I saw it differently, actually. I saw it as him looking hurt, which is also telling because he would not let his guard down with the real Black to give him the opportunity, to give Black the opportunity to hurt him. So
Mm.
he was vulnerable enough with Black to let these words get to him. The fact that he looks hurt looks means that he already cares about the things that this new Black is saying.
Mm. I don't know, I
So
might have to go back and watch it 3 or 4 more times. You know, I might have to force myself just to see if I agree. But yeah, one of the things that occurred to me in the last episode, in that, about, it's funny because I added a note to this week's episode, and was that it occurred to me that Gumpa offering White a place to stay and offering to teach him skills um is also like, and the way he's doing it, the way we see him do it in this, is it's like, obviously he's doing it for White because he knows something is like not right or whatever. But I also feel
Mhm.
like the fact that he's doing this is like, it's almost like he's planning to retrain Sean as well, because he's noticed how like distracted Sean is by White.
Mhm.
So it's like he's like, well, I'm gonna train this one, And this one also needs a refresher. So he's like killing two birds with one stone.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So should we go to part two to watch
We
part
should.
two?
Yes, let's go and watch part two.
Let's go. Yeah.
Okay, so 2 of 4.
It's interesting, we start with Yok's location, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like he lives in a poor area. It almost looks like some kind of slums. Is this a
Mm-hmm.
correct word?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And we focus on these houses for like 3 seconds. And it's striking because I have not seen those kinds of locations in any other Thai series. They're not pretty. And the fact that they exist there, considering that you don't see them in other series, feels in itself like a social commentary.
Mm.
Have you
Telling it
noticed it?
like it is. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Showing like it, like revealing, pulling back the curtain and revealing reality.
Yeah,
Mm.
not everything is so pretty. There are
Mm.
no, and it's funny that we get that, and then we get the second location. Oh, actually, it's not the second, but still in the same episode, then we get the way Todd lives.
Mm. Yeah, we
We
get to see the
see,
two extremes of
yeah,
livingness for sure. Yeah. So as you said, we started off with Yoke, and he
and
sees
he's
himself.
fangirling
Yeah, and
over.
he discovers himself in Una's art piece.
And he's like, "Why did you paint me?"
I know, right? And you know what? This is really interesting. So, seriously, I'm gonna Google synonyms for the word interesting later on. But this is like it is. It's a really interesting thing that he does that Una does here or Dan does here because you
Mhm,
think about it, like he doesn't want to be discovered. He doesn't want to be involved. The post
mhm,
that Yoke looks at talks about how he's not going to paint for a while because he knows he's being watched,
mhm.
and yet he
But
painted Yoke.
he
Yeah,
had
he
knowledge.
painted Yoke. Yeah, yeah. He painted Yoke into the picture, so he's clearly trying to communicate and reach out to Yoke, or as you said, acknowledge their connection. And
He wants
it's
to,
like,
but he also doesn't want to.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like, and it's so
Struggling.
funny because he did that, and then when Yoke chased him, he's like, you shouldn't do this. But it's like, it's kind of like Yoke didn't see it until now. But if he had seen it before, like, you could almost say, like, but you know, you addressed me, like you reached out first, kind of thing. Because that's what it feels like. You know what I mean?
He's like, I can't stay away from you. Now he's a bad word in my mind. It's like, I'm a bad person. I've killed people before. I don't care. You must stay away from me.
Yeah, Yoke's like, but I like your art and I think you're pretty. Yeah. So then we switch from
I
this.
wanted to, the first time I saw you, I wanted to kill you. But you
Accidentally. Yeah. Um, yeah, we go from this little like mini love fest to Sean throwing crap off the top of the platform above
didn't. Oh, he's
where
having
White
a
is,
seat.
yeah, why White is standing. Like, he's so salty in this. Like, he's like being so bratty. It's such a sulky move the way he behaves here, and it's like, I'm really not sure what Sean thinks he's achieving by this, but he literally looks like one of those little kids who's throwing a tantrum and like throwing their toys out of the pram.
Yeah. He's trying to
And
get White's attention. He's trying to get a reaction out of him, and White just gives him nothing,
yeah,
which frustrates him.
White's just like, what the fuck's your problem? um,
And then the
and then
jacket. jacket is
Yes,
there.
it's so funny.
I
I'm
love
like all
it.
caps, the black jacket. It's like it's its own character.
I have the jacket in gold caps, and then film is here. I love her so much. I love her so much.
So yeah, we get to see White discovering film Eugene, and he finds out from Graham that they broke up, but that he sort of works out from his brother's phone that they were secretly dating. Because he messages her or something. He messaged her in his phone about not sharing the video because he was worried about her getting hurt.
Yeah.
So and
How
so White,
secretly, how secretly were they dating though?
yeah,
Graham knows.
yeah. Well, obviously
Secret.
not
It
that
was,
secretly.
yeah. It was a secret from Todd. Obviously, Todd didn't know.
Oh, yeah, don't even get me started, seriously. You know what I'm like when it comes to Todd, all right? Before we do
Yeah.
that, let's talk about the dance because
Oh.
I don't know if there's an actual name for this. If someone knows, please enlighten me, but to me it's like a combination of interpretive dance and like slam poetry. It's
Mhm,
very political, it's very like human interest. The
mhm,
the beat, it, like everything, it's very performative. um
mhm.
I love this, like it's so good, it's so effective, it's so thought-provoking, and then it ends with White running around, like running away like a scared kid. Like I remember watching this the first time and being like so into it. You know, I have a background in dance and just being like, wow, this is really cool. Like I loved the rhythm of it. Like I was just loving everything about it, how linguistically it worked out. Like everything about it was cool. And as I said, it was very thought provoking. I was paying attention to what was being
There's so
said.
many political statements in this
Mm,
episode.
yeah.
Because to me, the fact that they showed like the way where York lives, it feels like a political statement. I don't know, maybe not political. I'm not economical. I'm not sure social, but it feels like some kind of a statement because you don't really see that in our
Yeah.
Thai media. And
Well,
then this,
I do think that Pinisha was going for realism. You know what I mean? Like that was very much her
yeah.
intention was to show us something true, you know, and meaningful. Um and in this poetry we get that as well. We also get, you know, a lot of the
They did
human
not
side of
need.
it.
They did not need to have a political poem to have them recite.
Yeah.
Is that correct? They,
Uh
they did not. It was not needed for the scene, but they wanted this to be there because this is a political series,
yeah.
and and to make it feel like all these young people are involved, they care, they are active citizens of the country, they are aware of what's happening, they're knowledgeable,
Yeah.
and they find way to express their opinions,
Yeah.
and they push the society forward, which is also a statement made through this scene, because they
Yeah.
could have had just another like a theater piece or whatever, but this is what they chose to include here.
Yeah. But as I said, just the way they've done it, this as I said, there may be an actual word for it, but like to me it looks very much like a pairing of interpretive dance and slam poetry. And it's very clever. Like it's
Mhm,
just, you know, having the form of dance they're doing where it's hitting the points, it's, you know, and you're feeling, not just you get sort of almost like trapped in the rhythm of the performance of the words of how it's of the beats of it, and the way they're like hitting themselves. You're feeling not only the points being made, but you're also feeling the pain and frustration of what's being said. Like it's very, very
mhm,
well done. Like yeah, I'm
mhm,
very, very, but as I said, like it's this like thought-provoking kind of like serious moment, and then White gets sprung by Eugene, and he's like, "Oh!" and like yeets out of there
mhm.
as fast as his little legs can carry.
Yeah.
I say little, but they're not. But you know, like he just takes off, and it just like I laughed. Like I remember being like really like kind of like I had goosebumps the first time I saw this scene. and then he just like takes off, and I was just like, I can't believe that just happened. But I kind of like it too, because it's it wasn't like humor, like it wasn't traditional humor, like they weren't trying to make it necessarily be funny and like make light of what they'd just been like talking about, but at the same time it we went quite serious there, and then to have that was like a nice kind of interlude, I guess. um
Mhm. But it's kind of cute because what happened here was that White wanted to know his brother better, and he was
yeah,
curious to see who his girlfriend was, who he'd fall in love with, what is it that he likes in people, what is it that he loves.
yeah,
So he wanted to see his girlfriend. He wanted to know his brother through her, and what he saw was beautiful.
yeah, he was impressed, yeah. So, but
Yeah.
he had no intention of interacting with her. It was so funny. I
Mhm.
feel like you can't help feeling sorry for her, because she, of course, as like everybody else, just assumes that White is black and is like, he was there and then he was gone. But
Yeah.
yeah. So, and then we get White going to see Todd, and this is where we get to see this opulence that you were talking about, like the flip side of the coin from the beginning of the
Yes.
episode. And they're
But the
talking
way he
about his,
appears, like, no, 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 wait, wait. The way he appears, he's in the pool or a jacuzzi or whatever.
yeah,
He's relaxed. This blue greenish light, which makes him look like a villain. He's having a drink. Like he's not stressed. He does not have a worry in the world. Like he looks like a villain.
yeah. White is announced to him. Like he has
Mm-hmm.
staff. It's very clear he has staff.
Yeah, like to a
And then,
king. Oh,
yeah,
here, you have a
yeah.
visitor, Your
And
Majesty.
then that's right. And then there's this joking and everything about their worth, about his worth and how much the building's worth, and like
Mm-hmm.
how White should refer to him and all this sort of stuff. And it's so funny because White, like when White says like, like where does the money come from basically, and Todd is
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, import, export, producing and like retail, and I was just like, sounds like a lot like a drug dealer. It's like, sounds like a lot of fancy rich talk for drug dealing.
Sounds like, you know, people who just have money.
Yeah. Well, it's like when he says to him, how much is the building worth or whatever, and he's just like, I don't know, I just got it when my dad died. Like, it's like, how do you how do you not know what your assets are worth? Do you have that much money that it doesn't matter? Like, it's insane to me. I
Maybe
know how
he
much
just
everything I own costs.
maybe he just didn't want to say it because it makes it too, obvious, too real somehow in that conversation with White.
Yeah,
Well,
maybe.
White he's aware. I think he's aware, isn't he, about the fact that White is leaving with. Maybe he's not. I think he must be. I think he
I
must know
don't know.
already that White.
I don't know that he does know that he goes and stays there, because I think later on, remember we later on there's a scene or something where he hasn't spoken to Todd for a few days, and Todd's like, I haven't
Mm.
been, like like I don't think he does actually know that he's staying with them.
It would make it more real because he's aware of the fact that White lives in two worlds now.
Uh
He knows how much it affected Black, how Black switched to the other, part
mm-mm,
basically, and he left him on this part, and he judged him for being on this part, which is, you know, and
true.
now he's being more attentive with what he's saying and with acknowledging his wealth and giving numbers,
Yeah, yeah.
being very
Mm-mm.
vague,
Vague.
vague.
Vague, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, and as I said, it makes sense too, because even though White is somewhat privileged, it's like saying, they're not even on the same playing, like they're not even playing the same game. Like he's clearly way way more rich. It's funny because
yeah.
White's all like a little kid, like, wow, this much. Like, because it's out of his realm of, like, comprehension. So even someone who's comes from a well-off family and who has privilege is still like somewhat impressed by like the opulence of that. and as you were saying, it's probably even more obvious to White too, because he's been exposed to the other side. So this probably even looks more bright and shiny to him than perhaps it would have before.
Hmm.
Like maybe he wouldn't have noticed it before as much,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah, he would have taken it as it is, but now he's
Yeah,
questioning it.
yeah.
Yeah. So then he talks about the ex-girlfriend, and he asks Todd, so is this Black's girlfriend? And Todd says, I don't know. And the scene is weird to me.
It
The
is weird.
scene where
Thank you. Yes. So
this
it's
scene
not just me. Yes.
where he, like, the moment when he's putting, like, he's taking care of the drinks, and there's this moment when he has the glass, white
Puts it
glass in
down.
his hand, and he puts it down, yes, and the camera lingers on his hand and kind of makes it look like it shakes a little bit. I don't
Trem-
know if it's
no,
real or just makes it look like this.
it does. No, it tremors because you hear it. You hear the glass clink on the counter. So it definitely shook. But the
Yeah.
question is, did Singh just have like one too many coffees that morning, and so his hand was shaky, or is that an important moment? Because
No, but
like,
why did the camera linger on that shot?
well, it's interesting because there's two things that they really focus on. There's that, and when like the whole process of Todd making the drink, so putting the ice in the
Yeah,
glass and the alcohol. And I can see why that part might be referenced, because something like that happens later on in the series
yeah,
and
yeah,
it's kind of
yeah.
important. But it happens in
Hmm.
it's so many episodes away that like it seems
Hmm.
weird that they would reference it now and expect you to remember it later. Um
It's like they're
like the casual
they're
viewer.
they're either trying to make you fear that he's going to do something to White's drink, fear for White, or implying that Todd has some hidden agenda regarding this girlfriend thing, and this kind
I
of threw him off.
definitely got a reaction to that. That's how, because you know me, I'm like Todd Black all the way.
Yeah.
Just putting it out there, people. I feel like Todd has feelings for Black. Okay, twisted, fucked up feelings, but I feel like they're there, and I feel like it's hinted quite obviously in some parts in the show. And I mean,
Mhm.
Singh even told us it was true. I'm gonna. He admitted it anyway. So, but the this part here to me, I feel like it indicates that, because he's like, he's very serious when White first mentions the girl and choosing the photo and everything.
Mhm.
We get this weird hand tremor, and then all of a
Yeah,
sudden he's like over the top enthusiastic about
yeah,
this
yeah.
girl and about how he should
Oh my
investigate,
God!
like, so
But the
to the
idea,
extreme.
yeah, he's having so much fun. He's like, "Oh, go get her!" It's like, get her at your place. Don't take her out in public. Don't go somewhere. Just get her at your place, because then you, like, what a stupid idea. You won't get caught if you go outside. You like, no, no, no. You will get caught if you go outside. You will not get caught if you invite her to your place. I'm like, where is the logic here? There's no how.
I know,
No.
right?
It's
Well,
like,
it's like
oh,
when he says,
oh my
when he says to him about like, did he talk to her, and he's like, no, she saw me and I ran away. And Todd's like, what? And he's like, well, I'm not Black, I don't want to like, why would I interact with her, sort of thing. And then when he wants them, he's trying to talk him into mixing, like meeting up with her, and he says, are you afraid that something sexy might happen?
It's like
And
he's trying to get him to do something with Black's
yes,
girlfriend to make her
like
cheat on him.
exactly. Oh my god, I'm the same. I'm like, Todd, what exactly are you trying to encourage here? Like, do you want Black
No,
to wake
this is
up and find out his brother like did something with his girlfriend or ex-girlfriend? Like, what exactly is your purpose here? Like, the same thing. He's
yeah.
legit essentially encouraging that. He's like, "Oh, you guys are exactly the same. She'll never be able to tell the difference."
Mm-hmm.
It's like, are you talking about yourself again now, or are you like, what are you doing?
Yes.
Because it's just, yeah, I'm like,
Yeah. Bad
Todd.
advice. Bad
Yes.
advice, and White is too trusting right now with him.
Mm.
I mean,
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's, as I said, it's just such a, if you if you just like saw the hand trauma thing or whatever. Actually, they did focus on it, but look, if you just saw the hand trauma thing, you could maybe write that off as maybe it was just like the actor or whatever. But like if you
Mm.
couple that with the extreme like flip he does like a few seconds later, where suddenly he's all like, "Oh, you should meet up with her," and like, "Oh yeah," da, da, da," and he's like
Both of
encouraging
them
the
are
fuck out of it.
intimate. Like if you spend time together intimately, she won't be able to tell the difference. Don't take it out when there are other distractions and other people and ways to avoid stuff. No, 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 no. Get her in your room. Just
That's
the
right.
two of you. You will not get caught. Great, Todd. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great advice.
I know, right? Like it's just it's and considering like his motives were always leaning towards the group, it's like suddenly he's very interested in this girl that he's like knows has nothing to do with anything.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like it's just it's Todd, you're a
Yeah.
sus, and I'm looking at you and you're a
Yeah.
sus.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm so glad that you noticed the shaky hand thing too, because I'm like, am I reading too much into this? And I'm like, no, it's super fucked up and weird, but in the best
I was not
possible ways.
sure. I was not sure about if the hand was shaking or just the effect of
No,
the camera
you actually
or
hear it
whatever. I
clink.
don't
You actually hear
know.
it clink on the marble of the bar. So he definitely did hit it before he put it down. So his
But
hand
it
shook.
was shot in a certain way to make you pay attention to that.
Yes,
To that.
emphasis. Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just like, you shady Todd.
Certainly. So that's then we're at uni again, and Graham talks to White about how no one wants to in the media wants to talk about the fire. It basically
Mhm.
the news. Um,
Yeah, the news is starting to die out. Pardon the pun. The
that
fire
yeah,
is starting to die
Tawi
out.
is not affected at all.
Yeah.
And funny moment when Sean appears and White asks,
Oh,
"Oh no, Grandma, so what is your problem?" And White says, "I'm tired to see his face." And then he looks at Sean,
I
looks
know,
at the
right? I'm
face
like, yeah.
he's tired to see.
He's like, I'm sick of seeing his face, and then proceeds to turn around and stare at his face.
Yep.
And then we have Sean
So
doing like the exact same as well, and it's like, boys, God, it's like they're so no, I just can't even.
and then we have a lecture
Yep.
about impunity,
Mhm.
which is exemption from punishment, a legal privilege to conduct wrong without being penalized. And it basically it basically means the wealthier you are, the more powerful you are, you won't be punished.
Yeah. It's sometimes pops up in like war crimes and stuff as well. Um or like not necessarily war crimes, but like accidental civilian death and things like that during wartime, because the idea is that it wasn't intentional, but you know,
The bigger your
it's also
crime, the less you are punished. Mm.
mm yeah. So, but and of course they're asked to
You know what, if you think about it, like if, for example, no, let's say there's a bomb and someone says the bomb, to kill people,
mm,
like that person is probably has probably some function, right, in the government or whatever, like not the government, maybe some military function. They are not punished for the crime of
oh,
killing people.
you mean like an official, like like a
Yeah,
sanctioned attack on another
yeah.
place? Yeah, well, yeah, that's right.
They will not be punished for killing people. We see it so often. Politicians steal and corporations steal and wealthy people, influential people steal, and they are not punished for that.
Yeah, well, that's right.
Like their privilege. Yeah, I'm gonna cut this out, but whatever.
No, but no, I agree with you. That is a good example. I don't think you should cut it out. I think it's a good example of it's a good way to explain it. Because that is definitely part of it. And it's just it's frustrating when you think about things like this, because you're aware of them happening, but you're also aware of the fact that there's like not much you can do about it, because and I feel like in countries where this is more prevalent, you know, you could be aware, and but you can't do anything about it, because the people who control that have the ear of the, you know, like the rich, or you know, the higher ups or whatever, are the ones who are deeming whether or not what laws are being upheld and stuff like that, which is a lot of what gets argued in this show, is that, you know, the laws exist, but they are only, you know, brought into question when it suits.
You know what's funny? Sometimes if the society is poor
Mm,
and there are politicians who uh, steal, and everyone is aware of that.
mm,
And people are so desperate that you know how politicians do this stuff where they're like, "Oh, have some like a bag of cereal or whatever," giving to people. You
mm,
know, "Oh, vote for me. Have a bag of cereal. Oh, let's do that school. Let's reconstruct that park or whatever." And you know, they stole the money. They're
mm,
not giving anything from like their own. Like, wait, what? Why? Where do they have the money?
mm,
Where
mm,
did they
mm,
get the money? And people are so sad. They're
mm.
like, at least you know they're stealing, but they're at least they're sharing with us. And it's like, what? You're like, do you, where do you think they got the money? They're stealing from
Yeah.
you, and they're giving you nothing, and you're thankful.
Yeah. But then that sometimes that's the argument of the lesser of two evils. If they're all like that, if they're all, if say like all the politicians are doing the bad thing, but you've got one here who's doing the bad thing, but they're also giving, that's how they, that's how they get you. But it's also like, are they not the lesser of the two evil? Like, at least they're doing something. Um, but it's still, and it's interesting because that is an argument that could be made later on in this series, like when Todd is arguing for like the rich having privilege versus the poor or whatever. um this idea that, like, yeah, you can be bad but you can do good still, because being bad gives you the um luxury of being able to do good. Does that make sense?
You know, usually this kind of stuff comes up with a lot of propaganda, and people are not even aware of other options, and
Yeah.
they just go along with whatever's happening. So mm, I don't really agree with this, with accepting this as a lesser evil and just accepting this, like, okay, I'm going to take that from this
No,
person,
but
take
I
this
guess,
bag of
yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying is, if you're in a situation where you have two options, only two options, there's no other options, just these two options. They're both criminals. they're both they both take, you know, but one of them gives back. Like, surely, do you know what I mean? Like, I get what you're saying, but also if you have, because often in this situation you have no options. Like, there are no options. It's like this or this. It's like, you know, is it, which is worse or which is better, or like whatever. I mean, the idea that we
Mm.
can make good without some sort of funding behind us is, you know, like, the theory behind it is great, but like in the practicality of being able to like help a lot of people or make a difference or whatever without some sort of financial backing behind you, um is is probably not something that is like realistically able to, you're able to maintain, or at least not for a long time. And at some point somewhere along the line, some of the money, if you do get backing, probably has come from somewhere nefarious anyway, and they've probably got their funds for doing something bad. Like, it's just, it's this weird, you know, I feel like anytime there's money involved, it's always going to be, it's always question, there's always question, you know, you have to,
But
you either have
Zoe,
to, yeah, we gone on for into a weird place.
politicians, it's not their job to give you bags of whatever. It's not their
Oh,
job
of
to
course not.
do charity. Their job is to, you know, uh, do to take care of legal things, to take care of relations, political relations, to uh, strike deals with whatever, right? Right?
Trade.
I'm
Yeah, yeah,
just revealing
yeah,
that I
yeah.
don't really know
Trade
what
and stuff like
politicians
that.
do.
Yeah, yeah.
That there, it's not their job to make you like them by giving you stuff. So no, and
True.
plus, if they do that, they usually do that to like throw sand in your eyes, and you do not know of any other options, because you accept this as something, you make this acceptable by
Mm-mm.
being like that, or at least
Yeah.
they give back. What about the others who do not give you, but maybe they're not stealing, but you're not giving them a chance because you're just looking at this one who's giving you shit, and you accept it,
Yeah, I guess I
and
see
they're
what you're
not
saying.
supposed to.
You get used to a certain thing, whether it's good or bad, and the if it's bad, then you don't always see the good.
It always comes with propaganda. It's a strategy. you're
Yeah,
you're not supposed to take stuff from politics. This is not what they're supposed to do. It's not their job.
yeah. I feel like there could be an analogy about taking candy from strangers
Yeah.
in here. But yeah, it's
Anyway,
usually if something is given um freely, or it seems like it's like a luxury, like an unexpected luxury, or something that shouldn't happen or whatever, it's usually it's not a good thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
especially
So,
from a person who wants
as
something from you, who wants you to vote for them, who wants to stay in power.
yeah, ulterior motives.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, I mean, that's the other thing as well. It's a balance of power too. If they already have more power than you, and they're giving you something that's making you feel indebted to them, then they're shifting the power balance even further in their direction.
Yep.
So, and in this respect, so when
Yeah,
they're talking,
and also they're making you an accomplice
yeah, true, as you said, because
if you
you're letting
accept
it
something
become,
that is stolen.
yeah.
You know it's stolen. Even if it's stolen from you, it's not only you, and you're an accomplice now.
Yeah. I mean, if you're looking at it from a legal perspective, yeah, definitely. And
A moral
it's
perspective as well.
yeah, yeah. But it's an interesting way to put it, actually. Especially, as you said, if you're aware of it. Accepting
Yeah.
stolen goods. But yeah, it's interesting that they in this instance, obviously they're talking more. Yes, they're talking about politicians and stuff like that, but they're also talking about like people with people with financial privilege, social
Hmm.
privilege. And so the lecturer asks for, I really like the way I would be, because once again I don't know enough um probably about this, but I would be curious to know if this particular person isn't who does the lecture, the special lecturer that they have in, if he is an actual lecturer, or if he's someone who works in like the legal field or something like that, or if he's just like not just but like, or if he's an actor, because I really liked the way he talks. Like I feel like he would be someone you would go and and listen to a lecture from. It would be very interesting. You know what I mean? Like, like when you're at
Hmm.
uni or whatever, you'd go to some lectures, and you 10 minutes in, and you're like stabbing yourself with your pen because it's the only way you can stay awake. Or
Yeah.
you go and you listen to someone talk, and you leave the lecture afterwards feeling different. Like
Hmm.
you've learned stuff obviously, but also like you feel like your worldview or your point of view or your you feel different, like you feel like you've taken something like significant away from listening to this person speak. And I feel like he
Hmm.
spoke in such a way that was like, I feel like that's how you would feel after you stepped out of his lecture. So I
Hmm.
was it made me curious to know whether or not like that was his field, or whether he's like just a very good actor. um
Hmm.
but yeah, he asks for examples. And so Sean tells of a case from a few years ago where a truck driver who works for Tawi was
Executed extrajudicially.
yeah, which basically just means like killed instead of arrested. Um
Yeah.
and so, and how Tawi basically didn't suffer any um
Well,
uh
he was used as a scapegoat. He
yeah.
was a truck driver in for something that was related to Tawi's business, and he was transformed into a scapegoat, and Tawi did not suffer any consequences.
Mm-mm.
when
And
it was discovered
because
that something illegal was happening.
yeah, because he was killed the way he was, there was no chance for him to defend himself or prove innocence or anything like that if that had been the
Yeah.
case. So, um this is a like somewhat small case from a few years ago, and it makes White is surprised because he doesn't understand. First off, like, why did Sean speak up? Like, Sean is one of those people who usually observes, and if he does have something to say, wouldn't normally necessarily be the first person to speak up. And it seemed like
Hmm.
a weird choice. And so he turns to Graham and sort of says to Graham, like, what do you know this case? What was it about? Why would he mention it? And Graham responds with, he hates everything about Tawi, so everything is worth mentioning. And I don't know how much we want to spoil here, but
Is this a question?
essentially, yeah, it was that was a question, but I feel like I can talk about it without spoiling anything. So, but like I feel like this is a good indication, like what Graham says in reaction, or like in response to White's questioning about why Sean would talk about this case. It indicates once
I
again
want
that
to ask
that
people who are
Graham
listening to us: is there someone who does has not watched Not Me yet and is listening to this podcast? If you exist, please let us know. I'm very curious.
but or yeah, like, are you watching with us, sort of thing? Yeah, for the first time. But yeah, like I feel like Graham's response to White's questioning about Sean's use of this particular case gives us a good indication that he doesn't know what Sean's true motives are. Like, he just knows he doesn't like Tawi. Like, he doesn't know why. Um,
He did not pay
and
that much attention
the other thing that I
to
thought,
that.
yeah, the other thing that I thought was really interesting too is we had a voiceover of
Yeah.
White when the talk of impunity was happening, and he said,
Hmm.
like, he'd heard about these cases and stuff, or read about these cases, and or learnt about them
He
from his father,
he yeah.
and was like encouraged to
He was
learn
told.
them,
Yeah.
but then keep them within himself.
Hmm.
And it's like what you're talking about. It's like this. It's like the epitome of the idea that everyone knows
Hmm.
that this injustice is happening, but no one speaks on it. You know, so the people just expect it because, or accept it rather, because it's expected, or do we just, as you said, they go along with it because there's a benefit to it, or or do we just, as a people, do we just don't bother speaking on it because we know there's nothing we can do to change it? Like, it's one of those things. But from this perspective of the voiceover of White's, is clearly his father was saying, you should know these things are happening, but you should never talk about them because, like, you know
They're
we
part
don't
of
do
a
that.
privileged society.
Yeah, yeah. So I thought that was interesting.
Well, it depends
Um,
on how much freedom the society has, how much freedom people have, how repressed they are, right? Because in certain societies, if you say something, you might, get framed, you might get
well, that's right. Yeah,
fired from your job, you might,
yeah. I
become
mean,
an outcast or something if
yeah,
everyone is a part of this system,
yeah. I
if
mean,
everyone is an accomplice.
yeah, that's right. I mean, political prisoners exist for a reason. But I mean, just like a lot of people who speak out about political things in particular, and the reason why I'm mentioning that is because the theme of the show and everything is, in some countries, if you speak up against the government, you just disappear.
Mm. Yeah, it
You
depends
know.
on how bad it is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
How
I mean, I have the luxury of coming from a company, a country where like that sort of thing doesn't happen. But like, there are definitely countries where you can't speak out without fear of something like that happening. So, which
yeah.
is horrible to think about, that people don't have that. freedom of speech, or even an opportunity to try and, how do you make change in a situation like that if you can't even like voice your opinion, like which is the barest minimum of like what you can do. If you can't even do that, like it's quite a sad thought, honestly.
Yeah, that's
And what
right.
a note to end this part on. I feel like we need to go back a bit so that we can like end it on a slightly less depressing note. And so I feel like we should draw everyone's attention to, like, at the end of this bit, we have they focus on Sean, and Sean is like staring at White. It's just like the intensity
I
of their
wonder how much
interests.
Black knew about Sean's history.
I feel like Black would have made it his. I don't know that he necessarily would have had a conversation with Sean, but I feel like he would have found out,
Well,
because I feel like he would want to know who he was working with and why.
yeah,
I feel like
maybe
Gunpa
maybe
probably
Gumpa
knows.
would have told him.
Yeah, I feel like Gunpa probably knows and Black probably knows, but it doesn't surprise me that the others don't.
Yeah.
So, and I'm like living for the moment where Sean tells White. I love that scene. I'm like, when is that? Like episode 6 or something?
It's 3 years
It's
away from
it's so
now.
far away. It's so
It is.
far. So close yet so far. I keep seeing little excerpts of that scene all over the place, and I'm like, no. I'm like, don't watch it, and I'm like, I must. And I'm like, don't watch it. I'm like, but I want to. No, don't watch it. It's very difficult. All
Okay,
right,
so this is it for
part 2. Should we go watch part 3?
no. This is it for part
Oh,
one.
yeah. You're like, no. I'm like, why? Sorry, I completely forgot what we were doing. My bad. All right, please begin.
Follow us on Twitter, on Tumblr, on Spotify. Interact with us.
Bye for now.
Bye.